Welcome to this explainer. Listen, if you're a focused learner totally fascinated by the absolute cutting edge of neuroscience, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're looking at a massive paradigm shift in how we actually understand mental health treatments. For like a century, the whole conversation around psychedelics has been completely dominated by the subjective experiences, right? The wild visions, the dissolved sense of self, the deep feeling of revelation. But what if the true healing isn't actually just in the mind? What if it's quite literally happening right there in the physical shape of your brain tissue?
Okay, let's dive into this because we are looking at what is arguably the most profound question in modern neuroscience right now. We're moving completely past the abstract here and looking directly at the biological hardware. Do these compounds actually change the physical wiring of our neural networks?
Well, the short answer, it's a resounding yes. In a landmark 2018 study by Calvin Lai, David Olson, and their team, researchers looked under the microscope and found something truly startling. A single dose of a psychedelic doesn't just, tweak your mood for a bit. It literally grows new dendritic spines and synapses right there on cortical neurons. And honestly, the most incredible part? This visible structural rewiring happens incredibly fast. We're talking within just 24 hours.
Which brings us to part one, beyond the psychedelic trip, from subjective experience to physical tissue.
We're zooming all the way in here. We're leaving those stories of the trip behind for a second and focusing entirely on the measurable reality happening at the microscopic level. I want you to think of the brain like a garden. As the research beautifully captures, these molecules make the brain physically grow. You actually see new branches reaching out from neurons, new connection points budding along them. It's wild. Drugs like LSD, DMT, and DOI act as powerful catalysts for physical tissue growth. It's like they're the water and sunlight hitting a dormant plant, rapidly spurring new branches. Except, in our brain's case, this is the literal architecture of thought itself, remodeling in real time.
Moving right along to part two, the brain's growth engine, the molecular pathway to plasticity. Let's move to and see how this builds, because you might be wondering, how exactly does this rapid gardening actually happen? Well, it builds across 5 very precise steps. Step 1, the psychedelic binds to the 5-HT2A receptor. This immediately triggers step 2, the release of BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. You can really just think of BDNF as the ultimate fertilizer for your neural branches. And step 3, this fertilizer binds to its specific receptor, TrkK, which then goes ahead and flips a master switch in step 4, called MTO. And once that MTO switch is activated, boom, we hit step 5, the actual physical construction of brand new synapses.
Now, here is absolutely the crucial point to take away. This pathway isn't just one random way to grow neurons. It is absolutely essential. If researchers go in and block BDNF or block TrkB or block mTOR, the whole plasticity process completely collapses. The drug literally loses its power to grow neurons. And what's super fascinating is that this exact same rapid healing pathway is used by ketamine. So that perfectly explains why completely chemically unrelated compounds can trigger the exact same explosive brain growth.
So, on to part 3, reversing the atrophy hypothesis. Targeting the root of depression.
So what does this all mean? Why do we actually care about this dense molecular machinery? Well, we have to connect this microscopic reality back to the massive real-world human problem of chronic stress and trauma. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole picture. On side A, we're looking at the modern theory of depression, which is known as the atrophy hypothesis. Chronic stress literally causes the brain to prune back its own connectivity. You get this major loss of synapses, kind of like withered branches on a dying tree. But then, look at side B. We have the effect of these powerful molecules. They don't just temporarily numb the pain, they trigger actual structural repair. New buds form. Within a single day, those withered branches begin to grow back, targeting depression right at its physical root.
Next up, part 4, meet the psychoplastogens, a new scientific classification. Because these molecules are doing something so incredibly unique and structural, we realized we needed a totally new way to talk about them. So, coined by neuroscientist David Olson back in 2018, the term psychoplastogen refers to any compound that produces rapid, robust promotion of neuroplasticity after just a single exposure. This is an absolutely brilliant reframing. It takes this sort of fuzzy, mystical question about how psychedelic trips heal people, and it turns it into a sharp, focused, druggable mission. Under this one broad tent, we can finally unite classic psychedelics, ketamine, and NDMA, because they are all driven by this singular ability to fertilize the brain. Bringing us to part 5, healing without the hallucination, the pharmaceutical frontier.
This naturally leads us to what is easily the most provocative frontier in this entire field. If the physical plasticity is the actual medicine, can we keep that structural healing but just completely drop the psychedelic journey? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this crucial comparison. On the top row, we have ibogaine. It's a powerful, natural plant psychedelic that absolutely promotes plasticity, but it also causes intense, grueling hallucinations and is dangerously cardiotoxic, meaning it's highly toxic to the heart. But check out the bottom row. David Olson's lab actually engineered a stripped-down analog from ibogaine called tabernanthalog, or TBG for short. It is not hallucinogenic, it is not cardiotoxic, but it still incredibly successfully promotes that vital neuroplasticity.
The 2020 Nature paper announcing these breakthroughs with TBG is just staggering. I mean, it's non-hallucinogenic and non-cardiotoxic, yet it promotes structural plasticity. In animal models, it actively reduces addiction behaviors, like alcohol and heroin seeking, and produces these really profound antidepressant-like effects. What we're actually looking at here is the potential for an ordinary take-home pill. Imagine that. No specialized clinic, no 8-hour guided journey, and no risk whatsoever of a bad trip. Just pure structural brain healing.
But, hey, as focused learners, we always have to ground our excitement in the honest limits of the data. Almost all of this amazing structural evidence we've talked about, the new spines, the neurites, the BDNF blockade, it relies heavily on animal models and cultured neurons in a lab. Measuring real-time synapse growth in a living, breathing human brain is incredibly difficult. Plus, it's really important to remember that plasticity isn't automatically a good thing. It really just means your brain is highly malleable. All that new wiring still absolutely requires a healthy context and proper integration to be shaped positively.
Which brings us right to our final question, and honestly, the fiercest debate going on in modern psychiatry today. Is the trip strictly necessary for healing, or is this plasticity the whole medicine? Some scientists firmly believe those new physical synapses are literally all that matter, and the hallucination is just an annoying side effect we can just engineer away. But others argue passionately that the felt subjective experience, the catharsis, that profound sense of meaning, is doing vital therapeutic work that a simple take-home pill could never, ever replace. We don't have the definitive answer yet, but what we do know for sure is that understanding this BDNF engine is completely rewriting our approach to mental health, from the synapse up. So, what do you think? I'll leave you to ponder that one. I really hope this explainer gave you a clear structural map of this fascinating frontier.